If I were to guess what audience Olivia cultivates, it would probably be people who are familiar with You're in Town.
Mainly because it's people I went to high school with that are listening to this,
That
and we
also
did
might
do
be
You're in
fair,
Town.
but we'll take. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, and welcome to the No Premise Podcast, a monthly podcast featuring conversations between me and my friends. Today, I am joined by a longtime friend of mine, Jackson.
Hey, thanks for having me. I am deeply honored to be your first guest outside of your own home.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. I wasn't sure where you were going with that. I was like, first guest, this is the second episode, but the qualifier is very funny.
Yeah.
So the reason, Jackson, that I wanted you on the podcast so early is because, in addition to being a dear friend, is because I feel like you are one of the people in my life who I feel like it would be most plausible for me to start a podcast with.
Yeah, I buy that.
Yeah, I don't know why.
There is definitely something. So there are a few people who I enjoy talking.
Mm-hmm.
So the medium of a podcast is one that I think might fit me well. I certainly hope so for the sake of your listeners. But also, I think that there are a few people who I can share nearly endless amounts of conversation with. And you are definitely one of those people. So I see that, connection, hopefully it makes for a good episode because, with no premise, it's just an open field of possibility. So I'm excited to see where we go down that road.
That's a really great segue into something I did want to mention, is that I feel like when Molly and I conceived of the title No Premise Podcast in the last episode, it quickly turned into, oh, so this must be a podcast about nothing, which is not the case. No premise does not mean that we just sit here and try to come up with stuff from the ether. It just means that you don't have to watch all 3 Lord of the Rings movies and take copious notes in order to be a guest on the podcast. There's no theme, I guess. Maybe the no theme podcast would have been better, but we're already 2 episodes in, or, an episode and 5% in. So we're not changing it, but no premise does not mean podcast about nothing.
No premise is catchier as well. No theme doesn't roll off the tongue the same. No premise podcast. It feels good. It's got a little bit of alliteration at the end. It's good. It's good.
Thank you. Also, I think no theme podcast just sounds sadder.
Yeah.
It's like we really have nothing going for us. At least here, it's like you can be a little bit imaginative,
Yeah. There's something about no theme where it's just like, guys, I got nothing. Whereas no premise, it's like it feels like, yeah, we're just talking.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, actually. I feel like you've been gone a lot this month. I don't really even know where you've been. I guess I know you were in Florida for a little bit, but what have been your recent travels?
So I think before I traveled at all, Melissa, my wife, went to Turkey for a work trip. So even though I wasn't gone, that was a big thing. And then we went to Florida for a week to visit her family. We try to make that trip every other year or so. And then recently, this past week, we were up in northern Wisconsin for, unfortunately, a funeral, but also to hang out with Melissa's brother and his partner and do some stuff. And it was nice to see everyone. And then we had a fun little weekend afterwards. So
yeah,
it's been a busy month for sure. It's nice to be home and kind of like, no, I'm going to stay here for a little bit. The bags actually got unpacked this time. So
woo!
Yeah.
Let it be known, Melissa, also a dear friend of mine. Just want to clear that up for anyone keeping track out there. Okay, so to go along with the fact that no premise does not mean no content, I did have an ulterior motive, Jackson, for
Yes.
inviting you on the podcast because I received a text a couple months ago from Melissa saying that you had told her that you wanted to get together with me, like we would all three of us get together and like watch a DCOM, a Disney Channel original movie, and then talk about it. And then I think after that, I saw you at Christmas and we spent like 30 minutes talking about the idea of DCOMs and how when we eventually get together, we're going to watch a DCOM and we're going to talk about it. Now, like you just mentioned, you've been very busy this month. I've also been pretty busy. I also have a lot of things coming up in the next month. So this get together may not happen for a while, but I think it would behoove us to figure out what DCOM we're going to watch now.
I like that.
Then we can plan for it later. And that's just one variable we don't have to worry about.
I like that a lot. For a little more background on this, you were at my house for Friendsgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And Friendsgiving, hosting it was very, very difficult. Like there was a lot to do. So I did not get to like sit down with you and remember to have this discussion because it was an idea I had hatched beforehand. And then immediately after Friendsgiving, I got very sick.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm like, oh, I forgot to talk to Olivia about this. And I was like in bed and I'm like, Melissa, text Olivia so I don't forget. And like she was already talking to you about like setting something up. So I was just like, Melissa, tell her. And I had forgotten I had told her to tell you that until now, but I do remember the discussion at Christmas.
Yeah.
So the theory, or the idea that I originally came up with was we would watch two DCOMs. One of them would be good and one of them would be terrible.
Amazing. Oh my goodness, amazing. And I was gonna ask what's kind of genre, what kind of style are we going? Are we going nostalgia DCOM? Are we going completely fresh and new to both of us? Musical or non-musical? 90s cringe or 2010s cringe? You know, there's all these subgenres in the list of DCOMs. So the fact that you're like one good and one terrible, I think that's perfect. Which one do we watch first, the terrible one or the good one?
Oh, that's a great question.
I kind of think.
Okay, what do you think?
I don't know. I was going to say something and then I immediately was like, maybe that's. I almost feel like you have to watch the good one first.
I think the same.
Because if we watch the terrible one first and then get used to like bashing on it and making fun of it, we're going to do that with the good one, even though the good one doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I had a slightly different point, which is if you watch the bad one first, I think I might not want to watch another movie, regardless of the movie.
Also a really good point.
Because like there is joy in watching the bad or like watching a bad movie, but I don't want to watch two bad movies. So like I feel like that has to be the last thing you do. Even if you know the second movie is going to be good, it's just like it I think you want to watch a really good movie. And like also people get tired of watching movies in general. If I'm going to watch a whole movie, I'm going to pay attention to that movie. And then the second movie, I'm going to pay a little less attention. So I want to banter in the second movie.
Yeah.
And I want to watch the first movie.
I agree.
And I also think for the sake of the podcast, it's easier to decide on a movie we like than trying to remember a movie that is incredibly forgettable.
Yeah. So, okay. So for good movie, we're going to go with something we've seen before because we know it's good.
At least one of us should have seen it.
Yeah.
You have definitely like, I should be clear that we discuss DCOMs enough. Like definitely like we talk about it a fair bit.
We do.
But you're the expert here. I am not.
Yeah.
And there are definitely a lot of these that you will have seen and I won't. But I'm probably familiar enough.
I think you're familiar with all the ones that matter.
I hope so.
You know what I mean? Like, because really, I didn't start watching DCOMs until like 2006 or something. And then I probably stopped. And DCOMs have been around since like the late 90s or whatever, but just by virtue of either being too young or having not been born yet, haven't seen a lot of the early ones. And then I definitely stopped watching them like I don't know, probably like 2015 was maybe my last legs or whatever. And I know there are some real cringy ones that happened in the late 2010s.
I am looking at the list right now, and yes, I do not have positive opinions of anything that came out after 2014 or 15.
Yeah.
But also I have like less opinions other than that zombies is a terrible premise and whoever wrote that movie should feel bad about themselves.
You know they're making a fourth one.
That they should stop. I think they should stop.
I also think they should stop.
I think they should have stopped before they started, but
okay, just real quick, little zombies tangent. I gotta figure out if Kenny Ortega is involved in these, if he like does the choreography or something, because the only reason I can imagine them doing a fourth one is because he wants to beat his record from High School Musical. You know, like he just always does these like trilogies or whatever, and it's like maybe this is the time I get the fourth one.
He does not show up on either of. I checked Zombies and Zombies 3. I didn't think to check the middle one, but he did not show up on the Wikipedia article.
Interesting. So someone's out to get him, is what I'm understanding.
Someone's like, I gotta be on the top of the list.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, they have a lot of sequels, not a lot of trilogies, and I don't think anything's gotten 4.
Yeah, I don't think anything's gotten, well, I guess they just did do another Descendants movie, but I feel like it's a spin-off rather than a true sequel because no one from the original was involved in it.
Directed by Kenny Ortega.
There you go. So okay, so he has done 4.
He's defending his title here.
He was like, we got to get this Descendants movie out before the 4th zombie movie. Amazing. Okay. So when I think of a good DCOM, I do think of like the classics from our childhood, right? High School Musical, Halloween Town, Cheetah Girls, stuff like that. Camp Rock. Well, Camp Rock is good, but it is cringy.
I have never seen Camp Rock.
Oh, maybe that's it then.
For all of the DCOMs, the one to not, I mean, High School Musical, sure. But then like Camp Rock is probably number 2 for like things you'd expect to have seen.
Uh-huh. I guess, can something be good and cringy?
Yes.
Okay. Because that might be, because honestly, Camp Rock could be either the good movie or the terrible movie, depending on how you want to look at it.
I would definitely be open to Camp Rock in whatever category you put it in.
Okay.
That said, I do feel like if we recur this, like if we do it over and over, we're going to run out of good movies before we run out of bad ones.
Maybe then we just start watching the same good ones over and over again.
Maybe we do. Maybe we run Lemonade Mouth 8 times.
Yes, because that's the best one.
That is the best one.
I'm glad you've at least seen that.
I've seen that many times.
Thank goodness. I wrote an essay about that in college.
That is impressive.
Yeah. Never let anyone tell you can't write an essay about a DCOM, kids.
I didn't go as far as writing an essay, but I did. This is only somewhat related, but we established on the first episode, I say we like I was there, that tangents are encouraged. So I do, in my college English class, I wrote not quite an essay, but something about how Mad Max Fury Road ends on the penultimate scene of Urinetown. As both are like heavily related to water usage and these things. And the penultimate scene for Urinetown is they get the water and are happy. And the final scene is they're out of water and sad.
Yeah, for all you musical theater buffs out there.
Yeah. So that was no one in my college. Maybe this is a sign that it wasn't a good story to tell on a podcast, but no one in my college class other than the professor knew what Urinetown was.
I'm surprised the professor knew what it was.
Yeah, I liked him.
Yeah, no, that was good. Thank you for sharing that with me. That was very important for me to know about you.
So Lemonade Mouth.
Lemonade Mouth, obviously good.
Obviously good.
I'm making a list just of the ones that we mentioned, and then we can maybe whittle. I mean, okay, here's the thing. I love Lemonade Mouth, right? I think it is the best DCOM by far. But I don't know if we want to start the good movie with something so good.
I agree with you.
Like, I think we have to maybe save that for the most terrible movie.
Oh, we watch Zombies with... Or maybe Zombies 4 we watch on premiere day with Lemonade Mouth.
Yeah, we could do that. I haven't seen Zombies 3. Is that important? I have seen the first 2, I will admit.
I've seen 1.
I was lonely in college when the first one premiered. I did watch it as it premiered.
Hey, that's fair.
It was okay. One that I remember really hating And this was in
Hmm.
like seventh grade when I think I was still at my DCOM peak. It's from 2012. It's called Frenemies. And it's like three stories in one movie, all about different like frenemies or whatever. And it notably stars modern day film star Zendaya in her
Yeah.
in maybe her first film role ever. I'm not sure. But I just remember watching that and then walking into like band class the next day. And Mr. Hippis, former band teacher of ours, was like, yeah, my kids watched that last night. They said it wasn't any good. And I was like, they were right. It was bad. And that's when I think I knew that things were going on a downhill slide for the DCOM.
Zendaya's first film role was Frenemies in 2012. Impressive that you could pull that.
I mean, I just assumed because she hadn't really been around before 2011, at least not in the Disney sphere, which I'm pretty sure was how she got her start. But
Yeah.
and then fun fact, she was in another movie in 2014 called Zapped.
Yes, I do know that one.
I did watch that one. I'm pretty sure to date, maybe not with Challengers having recently come out. I guess I don't know how they classify her in that, but before Challengers for sure, Zapped was the only movie Zendaya had ever been in that she was the lead.
That's crazy.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Highlight of her career is Zapped in 2014.
That was also like not a great movie.
Uh,
Um,
no, that one definitely goes in the bad pile, but
yeah.
a bad movie that I would watch. Like
Yeah.
there is an appeal to watching Zapped mostly because it's Zendaya.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, same year that How to Build a Better Boy came out.
That one, I don't know if I've ever actually seen, but it sounds horrible.
Yes, I think that is a great one to mock.
Yeah, okay. I was gonna say, I am deriding it for being horrible, but that's the point. We're trying to find the bad ones.
Yeah, we did say we were going to start on the good one and then went straight into bad ones, but some of these are so easy.
I do know though that one is notable for having they like repurposed Selena Gomez's "Love You Like a Love Song," which had only come out like 5 years beforehand, and they were already treating it like this relic of the past. And it's like, are you kidding me? I get it's like Disney property music, so you can probably use it without any like fines or fees, but don't treat it like it's some old ancient thing.
Yeah, that is. I mean, when you're watching that and you're 15 and it
Hmm.
came out when you were 9, you're like, oh, that takes me back.
Takes me back to when I was
It takes me
9,
back to when I was
the
9.
glory days.
Man, I forget how many like TV show movies there are, and like Wizards of Waverly Place, the movie. I'm sure I've seen that. I could
That
not
one,
tell you. I am sure that it is somewhere in my head jumbled with actual episodes. Like I could
yeah,
not tell you what is the movie, but I'm sure I've watched it.
I would place that one firmly in the good pile. That's a great movie.
I would love to watch that.
As evidenced, I assume we're both looking at the Wikipedia list right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, so as evidenced by the 11.4 what is this
Million
grading?
viewers, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, 11.4 million viewers when everything around it is like, I don't know, 8 at the highest, 8.5 or whatever.
That is the second highest in the table to
Hmm.
only to High School Musical 2.
Man, I love this lore and knowing that I was there for some of it.
I love this lore about the real world and specifically the Disney Channel. I like
Hmm.
using lore to describe like anything. It's just like, no, this is stuff that happened.
Yeah.
Phineas and Ferb, the movie Across the Second Dimension, only got 7.6, which is less than like Camp Rock 2.
Camp Rock 2 was a big deal though. I remember
The
watching
Cheetah
that
Girls
one.
2.
Cheetah Girls 2, best Cheetah Girls. Cheetah Girls 1, weirdly depressing. Like weirdly like real and like raw and almost like dramatic. Cheetah Girls 2, fun Barcelona trip. Cheetah Girls quote unquote 3, One World. I don't think I ever watched.
Well, you have watched 2 more than me then. So,
Yeah. If there's one to watch, it's Cheetah Girls 2. You don't even have to know anything about Cheetah Girls 1.
yeah, I have a feeling that when I was in the prime age for watching DCOMs, the Cheetah Girls was not something that was in my interests at the age of 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of doing Wizards of Waverly Place the movie and Zapped,
Zapped? Yeah.
and then doing like Selena Gomez and Zendaya because they're probably two of the most actually notable outside of Disney Channel people to come from Disney Channel. And I'm sure I'm missing
Yeah.
someone, but
No, you're probably right. I mean, I guess like Bridget Mendler,
Oh yeah.
who now owns a space communications company.
And also has a PhD, I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Also released some banging music in the early 20 teens.
Yeah.
She can do it all. But
She truly can. That's everything.
I think those are I guess Miley Cyrus. Duh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I said I was missing someone. That's who I'm thinking of.
Hmm.
But I like the idea of doing actually good Wizards of Waverly Place and not good Zapped.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a good lineup, a good starting lineup. Especially because I feel like the other thing I think we're going to note so hard is the difference between a 2009 DCOM and a 2014 DCOM. Like, I just feel like visually it's going to be so different and weird.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to look for any other ones that I know like are bad. And it's hard because I mean, kids were definitely watching DCOMs more between like 2006 and 2012 than they were
Hmm.
anytime after that. And then, streaming and all that and whatever. Because it's like, you look at the ones with like zero point 0.3 million or whatever, and it's like, is that even accurate? Or was it
Yeah.
just everyone else was watching it somewhere else? So you can't really say, however bad it probably is, that Zombies 3 is one of the most terrible DCOMs because it only had zero point 0.3 million
Well, yeah,
viewers.
this is probably TV ratings and you're watching it on Disney Plus or whatever now. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's fair. I can still say it's the worst, even though I haven't seen it, just because you shouldn't have made Zombies 3. You shouldn't have made Zombies 1.
Okay, I scrolled down into the section of the article called Notable Non-Disney Channel Original Movie Films, and I want to point out there's a movie that I watched at the peak of, because I think it premiered at the peak of COVID.
Hmm.
Secret Society of Second Born Royals. Horrible movie. But it gave me some kind of sick, twisted joy in the depression pit that was the
Hmm.
fall of COVID. But that one, not good. Like, I think that'd be good for a laugh at some point, even though it's technically not a DCOM because it was a Disney Plus original.
Yeah. Of this list, 16 Wishes stands out. I remember watching that one.
That one was good. I liked that one.
I remember it being very okay, which is
Yeah.
probably being how old was it? 2010. So I was like 11 and it was probably just happened to be on. And like me thinking, hey, this is all right.
Hmm.
That's probably pretty good considering I'm definitely, again, not the target demographic for 16 Wishes.
What, you don't want to follow a girl if she makes 16 wishes on her birthday and then they all go horribly wrong? I will say, I feel like a DCOM being just okay is actually pretty good for a DCOM.
Yeah.
Like the ones that are good, and the ones that are bad. But if it's just okay, it's probably pretty good.
Although, again, 16 Wishes, not a decom. It's in the notable non decom list.
Though it was later promoted as such.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Get your marketing on straight, Disney Channel.
Yeah, they're revising history here. We can't. Who can we trust if not the list of Disney Channel original movies?
Nobody, Jackson. We can't
I
trust
know.
anybody. Man, this is taking me back though. I like want to watch all of these. Can we just keep going until we watch all of them?
How many? How many is that?
I have no clue, but it is a lot.
I'll say yes, no matter what the number is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I was gonna count. I'm not gonna do that. It is crazy that they are still making them, like making a lot of them. Although there hasn't been. Oh, I guess they're now Disney original movies. That's why there's this list.
Hmm.
But like they're still coming out with two or three a year, basically every year, which is a little impressive. They're not all hits, but like they weren't all hits in 2010 either.
That's true. There was a slump period in 2009 where they feel like they were all just not hitting the mark they wanted to. Because I think they were appealing too much to like the older tweens and like the
Mm,
14-year-olds than they were to like the younger kids who are like receptive to franchising.
yeah. Most of these aren't even sequels. Like
Yeah,
as much as I were kind of joking on them for coming out with four zombies movies in like 7 years, like every other year it's a zombies movie. Like the rest are mostly not sequels.
and let's not forget. that and I just realized this by scrolling all the way to the top of the list, that in 2021, Disney Channel remade their very first DCOM for the new generation under wraps. It looks like it's about a mummy, and they also made a sequel to it, which never existed in 1997. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I have never heard of this. And however, there is like this subgenre of DCOMs that is the Halloween DCOM. Like there are a lot of Halloween DCOMs.
Yeah.
And I just find that interesting. I wonder if they just saw like no one really makes Halloween movies and kids like Halloween. So let's make Disney Halloween movies and try to like attach to that, or what it was. But like there's, multiple Halloween towns, multiple Twitches,
Zombies.
apps that we just talked about. Zombies is not a Halloween movie.
Yeah, because I guess the only like children's Halloween movie I can think of outside of Disney is like Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Or like The Nightmare Before Christmas, but that even gets dicey because what holiday are you supposed to watch it during?
It's Halloween.
Is it? Okay.
I mean, like it objectively happens around like there might be more Christmas like in the movie than like it's fair to just say watch it around Halloween, but like you make that movie hoping to get people to watch it around Halloween. You don't make that movie hoping like to compete with all the other Christmas movies in the world, because like that's not the vibe people sit down and watch for on Christmas Eve with their families.
True.
It's what you watch in a college dorm on Halloween, which is how I watched it.
Amazing.
Most recently. So
all right. So I think we've got a pretty good start.
Yeah.
I did get the little Zoom notification that we are in our last 10 minutes here, which is crazy. That went
so fast.
I know. And you were worried about our banter.
I was worried both. I was worried about bantering too much before we started. That is part of it. And then I was also worried like, but you got to banter a little before. It all worked out. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
Especially in the wide world of Disney Channel original movies.
Amazing. So I guess next, as we kind of wind things down here, I guess just to get a clean take or whatever, it sounds like, Jackson, when we do get together and watch one good and one bad DCOM, we will be watching the Wizards of Waverly Place movie, and then we'll be watching Zapped.
Yes, and I am so excited.
So if this happens, in the next couple months, we'll have to get back on the pod and do a little debrief.
Yeah, we can do a DCOM debrief. That sounds good. And then maybe pick 2 more movies and we just keep it up.
I like it. So as we wind down, I guess, and I feel like this is going to be skewed. This is the part of the podcast where normally when I listen to podcasts, people plug things, but we're normal people with normal lives and have nothing to promote. So is there anything you recommend to the listening audience that maybe is not a DCOM?
Okay, yes. I want to recommend Lemonade Mouth, of course. But I re-listened to the first podcast you had with Molly, so I came prepared. I want to recommend 2 musical albums and then 2 books.
Amazing. Wow. So
I know.
Prepared.
I came so prepared.
You said you re-listened? That means you listened twice?
I listened to it 2 whole times.
Biggest fan.
So the first book I want to recommend is Circe by Madeline Miller. It is fantastic. I
have not read that yet. Molly owns it. It like stares at me when I'm like doing yoga in the living room. I want to read it so bad.
The cover of the book does literally stare at you. Like it is evocative. Last episode, Molly said she was reading the Iliad, which I found very funny because I started the Iliad yesterday and I re-listened to it today and did not remember that. So I'm reading that because I liked Circe so much. It is fantastic. The second book, and I wish we had longer to banter about this because it was a recommendation from you.
Oh boy.
It's Raft of Stars. I listened to it on another podcast.
Yes.
Because of your recommendation to that podcast, and I loved it. It was really good. The characters in that book are so strong as characters and also so relatable in a way that I just loved. It was very nice. I really liked it.
That's awesome. I'm so glad.
I finished it within the last month, and I knew you like had floated having me on the podcast. So I'm like, maybe I'll just mention it on the podcast. So I'll save it.
What a good surprise.
Yeah. And then 2 pieces of music I really like. The band Hippocampus came out with an album, Flood, about longer than 3 months ago. It was sometime last year. I love it. I've listened to it very regularly. I've gone and seen them live. They're great. And then the other band, Flip Turn, came out with their second album, Burnout Days. And I really like that as well. Both of them are really good bands. Listen to them or don't.
That's a great way to end your recommendation.
I'm just a normal person. I don't have any like benefit from this other than knowing that more people in the world like the things I do, which is cool. So
yeah. And this episode, I'm going to recommend MasterChef Junior. I think everybody should be watching MasterChef Junior. Molly and I, in all the time we've lived together, we watch like one season every like 9 months or something. And so we're in the middle of one right now. And it's just so fun. And it's so easy to make fun of those kids, but like, it doesn't make you a bad person because it happened 10 years ago and they're all adults now. Highly recommend MasterChef Junior if you want something that's really gonna like mess you up on the inside, but also just be so funny and stupid at the same time.
I've not watched a cooking show since the last season I watched of Great British Baking Show, because that was the season with Kim Joy, who is fantastic. And that kind of like ruined that show because I'm like, nothing else has matched her. She is fantastic. So maybe I'll try going the complete opposite direction. Instead of looking for better, look for MasterChef Junior.
Yeah. The junior versions are always better, I think.
Yeah.
They're a little bit nicer and they're a little bit sillier. So, yeah. All right. Well, the time is ticking down. I can see it. I guess we will call this a night for now. Jackson, thank you again for joining me. This was very fun.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I think we need to talk more often because I miss talking to you, dude.
I do too. It's good. And we'll have plenty of time to talk when we get together to watch DCOMs.
Yes, we will. So then to you listeners out there, thank you for listening to the No Premise Podcast. Hopefully I will see you back here next month with another conversation and another friend. Thank you for listening to this episode of the No Premise Podcast. This podcast is hosted, edited, and produced by Olivia Kroner, aka me. Music courtesy of Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. See you next time.